All right, let's dive into something that, let's be honest, feels more complicated than it should be. Modern dating. If you've ever felt completely lost or just plain anxious trying to figure it all out, you are definitely not alone. So let's get into what's really going on.
I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? You're out there, you're swiping, you're matching, you're even going on dates. But there's this constant, low-level buzz of anxiety and confusion that's just so hard to shake. It feels like the rules are always changing, or worse, that there are no rules at all.
So you go online, maybe looking for some answers. And what do you find? You get hit with these huge, sweeping statements like this. Claims that 99% of women or all men are basically the same. The thing is, social media loves extreme statements. They get clicks, but they almost never reflect what's actually true. It completely warps our perception and shoves us into this black and white thinking, which is the exact opposite of how real human connection actually works.
So what's really fueling all this anxiety? Well, psychologists say it's basically a perfect storm. You've got the paralysis of having way too many options on apps. You've got this culture where nobody wants to define the relationship, so you're stuck in limbo. The dating apps themselves, they're literally designed to feel like a slot machine, keeping you hooked. And all this is happening while you're seeing everyone else's perfect highlight reels online, which makes it feel way scarier to take a real emotional risk. Okay, this is exactly why we need a reality check. It's time to cut through all that online noise, all the myths, and get back to what psychology and actual human behavior tell us about building healthy, trusting relationships.
Let's just break these down because this is so important. That fear-based idea that everyone cheats, it's just not true. Loyalty is about an individual's character, their values, and their attachment style. It's not some universal defect. And that old idea that jealousy means they really love you? Nope. Psychologically, it's the opposite. Healthy, secure love is calm. Jealousy is almost always about insecurity. And maybe most importantly, while someone's past matters, what matters way more is their emotional maturity, how they've grown from their past, not just the list of who they've dated.
So, if we can't rely on all those myths, what can we rely on? Patterns. Human behavior is all about patterns. Think of this next part as your playbook for learning how to read them so you can figure out someone's true intentions way earlier.
Okay, let's talk red flags. And listen, these aren't just little personality quirks, these are genuine warning signs. Inconsistent communication, that just creates anxiety right from the start. Love bombing, that insane rush of affection right at the beginning, is often a way to fake intimacy fast. If they blame every single one of their exes for everything, that shows zero accountability. And that hot and cold behavior, it's a classic move to keep you hooked but always just out of reach.
Now, let's flip that on its head and look at the green flags, what you're actually looking for. A safe partner is consistent. What they say lines up with what they do time and time again. They're open with you, not because you pressure them, but because they actually value honesty. They own their mistakes. But honestly, the biggest one is that last point. How do you feel when you're with them? A truly secure partner makes you feel calm. Not a crazy roller coaster of highs and lows, but a real steady sense of peace.
You know, it's also so important to understand the difference here. Privacy is healthy. Everyone needs their own personal space and private thoughts. That actually builds trust because it's based on mutual respect. But secrecy, that's different. That's intentionally hiding information that the other person should probably know. It breeds suspicion. And then you have deception, which is straight up lying or misleading someone. That's not a mistake. It's an action that completely shatters the foundation of trust.
Okay, so spotting patterns is one thing, but how do you actually move from that early stage to building a real healthy foundation? That's when you have to start assessing for true long-term potential.
Think of this as your checklist for something that's built to last. Consistency is always the bedrock. But then you need the other pillars. Do you share the same core values? Can they handle their emotions like an adult? How do they act when you disagree? And maybe the most important question, is the effort mutual? A real relationship is a partnership, not a one-person show. It takes two people actively building together.
And speaking of disagreeing, this is really where the rubber meets the road. Look, every single couple has conflict. The difference between a couple that makes it and one that falls apart is how they handle it. Destructive conflict is all about attacking the person. You always do this, and keeping score of past mistakes. Healthy conflict? That's about focusing on the problem. It's about finding a solution together, not about winning some battle for your ego. It's the feeling of us against the problem, not me against you.
So what if you're the one who's feeling anxious or having a hard time trusting, maybe because of things that have happened before? Here are 5 steps to handle that in a healthy way. 1. Talk about your feelings without accusing them. Use I feel statements like I feel anxious when instead of you make me feel. 2. Do the hard work of figuring out if this is about them right now or if it's an echo from your past. 3. It is totally okay to ask for reassurance, but demanding proof or trying to control them will just backfire. 4. Focus on their current patterns. And 5. Learn to calm your own nervous system and self-soothe when you feel that anxiety creeping in. So when you boil it all down after looking at all these myths, patterns, and realities, what's the one thing to remember? It really comes back to this. You have to consciously separate the reality of the person right in front of you from all the distorted, scary stories you see online. Ground yourself in what you can actually observe, not in some viral claim.
And that brings us to the final and I think most important point. We're always asking ourselves, can I trust this person?
But what if the more powerful question is actually, am I building trust wisely? Because trust isn't supposed to be a blind leap of faith, it's something you build step by step based on seeing consistent, trustworthy actions over time. And asking that question, well, that puts the power right back where it belongs, in your hands.